We round off our insights with sharing with you what is it about building a movement. If you've heard me speak before, you will hear me describe my purpose as building a movement of brave leaders. And actually, what does it mean to build a movement? Why do we need a movement when we are trying to tackle systemic barriers and long-standing behaviours and really drive change on a global scale? Again, in this final clip, you'll hear more insights into exactly what's helping to do that and why we need a movement to maintain momentum. I think when we get asked, what is bravery in the boardroom, and we say it's a movement, what are we talking about?
I think it's like a collective of people that acknowledge the same thing, actually talking about it in a safe public space to try and drive action and change towards the situation. Because I think, again, there's enough kind of words and enough kind of spiel that people give about it, but then who's actually taking actions?
We just knew that we wanted to put some energy behind moving and turning the dial now on inclusive leadership and see a more diverse talent development, see a more senior talent pipelines be more diverse, seeing that change in the boardroom and at senior level. We wanted to see more of that, and we wanted to be able to use our own skills and expertise and platform to drive that and make it happen.
When I was a deputy chief operating officer, I reached out to say, where are my peers? Who can I connect with? Who can I learn with? Who can I steal with pride from? And I quickly found that nothing existed. So I set about, let's create something. Let's start a bit of a movement. And it was back in 2017. And I got 15 people together in a room, and we all said, why are we here? What's our purpose? And I particularly took a developmental approach to meeting as 15 colleagues from one end of the country to the other to say, why are we here? Why should we come together as a professional network? What do we all want to get out of it? What are our values? And what are the principles that we work to? And like I said, that was back in 2017. 15 people. We're now well over 1,000 members from one end of the country to the other. And we're still only tip of the iceberg with that.
Tell me a little bit more about why you started Being Up.
Yeah, when you are in your leadership journey, you'll be at some point, you'll be having a thought, what I'm going to give back to our community. So when in nearly 2017-16 and all, we thought about having some sort of supportive platform for Indian nursing community.
Yes.
So in 2017, when I was working at Manchester, I was having some sort of good interaction with the BAPIO senior people. BAPIO is British Association of Physicians of Indian Origin.
Okay.
So at that time, I think we were discussing about we can also have a supportive platform like that for Indian nursing community.
Yes.
So it started, that conversation gradually snowballed.
I know from what other colleagues who've attended our previous sessions have said, this unlocks things for people. This really helps people to move forward or to understand some of what is that almost like hidden, isn't it? Nobody gives you that tap on the shoulder. Here, what I'm trying to say is our panel's tapping every single one of you in the audience on the shoulder today and choosing to share their insights.
You've got operational senior managers who are leading massive divisions of clinical services with budgets of 20, 30, 50 million pounds.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that work in there, but they weren't really recognised, and their own development and their own safe, supportive space didn't exist. So we started Proud to be Ops, operational network, and then year on year we've grown. And the network involves managers from community trust, mental health, acute, independent, non-for-profit, and ambulance sector. And we continue to grow, and now we have a very supportive, safe space that's all about the people and the people within it.
So in the last nearly about 3 years, more than 300 people, they got promotions within the BINA group.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So the impact that you're having, you
Definitely,
see that.
yeah. And we are having a very good team around us. For example, we are having committed, passionate people who want to make difference to our community. It's purely voluntary roles.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah, it's purely voluntary. Nobody is paid. But all those people who are with us, they are very passionate and they want to give something to the community. So if BINA is growing this much fast, it's because of that passionate team.
Sometimes people can say, oh, well, you know, you shouldn't start all of these smaller networks and groups on their own. You dilute the power. What I love about what you're sharing there is it's important, I think, to have micro networks because we're, like we said, like Jabali Men's Network, like what you're saying about BINA, but because then if that represents you, you feel like everyone here is like me. But what I love about what you shared there is how you connect back.
Yeah.
So actually you connect with other networks to come together as well.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being able to provide support that feels tailored and safe.
Yeah.
But also we can connect up and have that power of collective voice with other nursing communities when we need to as well.
Yeah.
Because I believe that when we are trying to drive big change, my background was a change agent in the NHS. I was a commissioner for 10 years and then I moved into a director of strategy and transformation role. So I had a lot of responsibility about driving change across organisations, across teams and across systems. And actually what I know is about the need to maintain momentum. You know that feeling when it feels like you're pushing that big boulder up the hill. You can't do it on your own. And what we see, especially in the EDI and equity space, especially when we see people trying to tackle discrimination, is people get tired. People get targeted as individuals. People get tired. People get burnt out. People become traumatized. And that's why I believe we need the momentum of collective action and energy to come together. Systemic barriers. It's an absolute reason why we must have the power of a movement, because to topple down long-standing, deep-rooted systemic barriers needs deep work. Now, I'm not saying that to put us off. I'm not saying that because I believe we can't do it. What I'm saying is we need to maintain momentum and have collective energy to tackle those. How do we connect with and speak to and challenge senior decision makers, chairs, CEOs, system level leaders, chief people officers? How do we challenge those who are in charge of recruiting and supporting senior leaders in organizations to think differently, to start looking at their boardroom differently, to understand that it's not just about recruiting diversity in numbers and ticking that box. It's also about what you do to sustain it. It's also about being open and honest about when your boardroom isn't inclusive and what you can do about that. Really taking that look at yourself and being able to challenge. So how do we bring that conversation about so both sides of the coin are discussed? How do we not make sure we're not ignoring the systemic barriers and issues and challenges that need to be removed? We will never achieve full inclusion if we do not remove the systemic barriers to inclusion, removing the racism barriers, the discrimination barriers that are there. This conversation doesn't ignore that. That has to happen. But it's hard work, and I know that collectively, with collective action, with collective energy, we can all keep working on that.